The View from the Top of the Tower by Harry Harrison. Stately, plump Sean Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. A yellow dressing-gown, ungirdled, was sustained gently behind him by the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft, just as a voice shrilled up the stairwell behind him. "You'll catch your death," Molly sirened, her penetrating voice in full volume, capable of cracking a Guinness bottle at 20 paces. "But you would live in a Martello tower, saving money, you said, but no jacks, and damp as a Kerry bog, then shaving on the battlements. Jesus, you'll be struck by lightning." Sean tuned out the meaning from her words, but the breakers of sound still crashed over him like waves of snot-green sea. He shaved too fast, nicking out bits of skin until the lather in the bowl turned roseate, whisker-speckled. With a swish and a grunt, he hurled the foamed water from the gun-port, then hurried back below. Yet still the voice broke over him, yet still he did not hear as he pulled leg into trouser, draped tie about neck, speckled bits of toilet paper on blood-spotted skin, fled downward, earthward, drinkward, past the 40-foot, and pantingly past Bullock Castle toward Sanctuary. Sanctus Sanctorum. The arches beckoned, and he obeyed. With the genius of years, the door was unlocked at the precise moment he pressed against it, pushed through, stumbled forward, leaned stout elbow on stouter bar, and breathed the blessing into the stout, expectant air. A pint of the black. "You've cut yourself shaving?" Noel said in tones of utmost gloom, the only melody that ever issued from his barrel chest, as he filled full the glass, bright yellow above brown. "I have that, and lucky not to have done myself from ear to ear, with herself in full spate this morning. The voice of her, it only improves with age. Aye, they'll hear her in Wexford next. Say Ballina, and be done." Last wipe of Strigil, passed over and down, raised high and admired, first touch on tongue, first gorgeous glottis gorging, first sigh of life returned. Pax vobiscum, pax humanum. For Portugal, earth was a flowing font of language. He had been the first student on his home world, dark planet of an ice-blue star on the far side of the galactic lens, to master the difficult art of mental projection. The Tachyon source could only be grasped, understood, utilized by force of will alone, and his will was strong, driven by his need to communicate in other than the muffled tones of his race. Sluggish and thick, they oozed along at the bottom of their dense, chill atmosphere, where liquid and gas merged and changed, speaking only with the greatest effort against the pressure of the thousands of miles of gas above. For this reason, their language was stripped and truncated, bare and unadorned, brief and brutal. He was the only linguist, self-taught and lonely, for who needs linguists when the language contains only 112 words? What paradise this green, warm world of earth! Twice before, Portugal had journeyed here, entered the mind of earth-dwellers, to speak and revel in the richness of language, to learn and remember. It did not bother him that he had to walk with 2 legs instead of 20, lacked tentacles and extra eyes on his fingertips, nor did he even miss the pingle organs that made population so intriguing. No sacrifice was too great when it aided his linguistic research. It bothered him slightly that his first research attempt had ended almost as quickly as it had begun. His spoken Zulu was quite primitive, since the unfortunate body he had controlled had been burned as a witch soon after his arrival. His second occupation, in Japan, had been more successful since extraplanetary mental possession was known there. His reluctant host, a geisha girl, had lived long enough for him to completely master her language, until he had thoughtlessly walked her in front of a bullet train while preoccupied with sister-brother, Shimai-Kudal interrelationships. Now he was ready to research again. His mnemonic notes on Japanese had been scratched into steel-hard ice by his ventral claw. He clacked 10 or 11 sets of teeth with pleasure as he took up the tachyon source, reached out with his mind, envisioned once again the blue-green sphere of Earth. Sean Mulligan felt dizzy after only 6 pints, and closed his eyes for an instant. When he opened them again, Portakal looked out. "Sean, me old darlin'," Patsy Kelly said. "Sure and you're not dozing off in the middle of the afternoon? Sure and you're not?" Sean blinked blurrily in his direction, across the sea of pints, smacked his lips, and said, "Biru Nihong Kudasai." "None of that now," Seamus said, shaking an admonitory finger as thick as another man's wrist, for he was a great oak of a man, hard strengthened by a life on the building sites. "None of that. You know that I am ill-educated and don't have the Irish, so none of your stout-fueled, priest-trained attempts at superiority." Portakal rustled around in the synapses of the alcohol-dulled brain he now possessed. Oh, foolish error! He was speaking Japanese, not the local language. What did they speak here? Yes, here it was. He sighed as he sank into the linguistic pool, splashed about a bit with pleasure, seized the correct words, then spoke. "I am Portakal from a distant world across the galaxy. I bring you greetings." "Jesus, he's pissed already," Patsy Kelly said with some amazement. "He's been into the whiskey at home. That's what he has been doing." "You will obey my orders and will speak as I order you to, if you value your drinking companion's continued existence." He was dimly aware of pain on posterior and extremities as he struck the hard surface. "And don't come back until you're sober," Noel called after him. "Shameful a man of your age, not to say education, in his cups this hour of the day." The pub door closed, and Portakal pulled himself up from among the tattered crisp packets, fagons, and dog-turds. He cursed, in Japanese, because that came easiest at the moment. What kind of people were these that didn't know the difference between host and occupier? Disgraceful. Perhaps it was only the occupants of the sake parlor who thought that way, for he knew that strong drink did strange things to these soft bodies. He would seek one of superior intelligence to converse with. With slow pace he went along the street, using his newfound skills to spell out the words that swarmed on all sides: a glass window, the Jolly Friar, fish and chips, a locked door below, closed for lunch. Interesting. Another establishment, a signboard, punctures, Punctures, repaired. On the other side it read, Punchers, Puntures, repaired. He made a mental note of the interesting spelling variations. Then a larger building, made of dressed stone, set back from the road, coming to a point on top. Door opened invitingly into the dark interior. He entered, saw rows of flickering flames. A man all in dark approached. "I salute you, son of a distant world," Portakal said, "and bring you greetings from the other side of the galaxy." Father Flynn glowered along the length of his impressive nose. "Drinking again, Sean Mulligan. The curse of the Irish it is. And you not to mass since the Battle of the Boyne. You'll die unshriven, man. You will plunge straight through the bottom of purgatory and into hell before you even know you're dead." "I bid silence and order attention," Portakal said testily. "Things had been far better in Japan. My name is Portakal. You cannot see the sun of my planet from here, Yet I assure you, the only assurances I want from you, you blackguard, is a confession of your sins, long overdue. You are the burden that your poor wife must bear, the shame of her coming alone here on Sunday. Will you listen to me? I will not, but I will pray for you, miserable sinner that you are. This was unbearable, unbelievable. Portugal turned the body on its heel and stamped out into the spring sunshine again. But the sun had vanished suddenly, and chill rain came down, drenching him in an instant. He shivered and paid it no heed. There was obviously something wrong with these people. They could not all be hard of hearing. Perhaps he had picked the wrong host for his operations. He slumped against the wall and looked at those who hurried by in the driving rain. Could he make the effort of will to leave this host and find another? He had never done it before. He could only try. He waited until there were a knot of people close by, then willed it strongly. Nothing happened. He would have to make the most of it. This creature would have to do. He would return to the first place of drinking and attempt communication again. Yet, when he ordered the body forward, it did not move. Impossible. His was the will that had spanned light years, the strength that manipulated tachyons. This miserable earthling, he was aware of it lurking unhappily in a far corner of the cerebellum, could not fight against his strength of purpose. Then why couldn't he move? He spoke aloud, the only way he could communicate with the subject mind. Desist. I order it. We will return to the arches. We will go to the center of regional government, he said, in a deep and resonant voice. Portugal was astonished. Those were not his words, or even those of his host. Then what? "Who are you?" he shouted. "I see you there, lurking in a twisted whirl of the medulla oblongata. Step forward and present yourself." An old woman stumbled by, clinging to her umbrella, took one look at Sean Mulligan, crossed herself, and tottered even faster. "I am Monticle of the asterisk, circumflex, period, greater than. O Earthman, I bring you greetings from beyond the stars." "Get out of this brain," Portugal ordered. "I was here first." Sean's eyes crossed as each of the aliens controlled one eye to look at the other. "It cannot be true," Monticle wailed in stentorian tones. "My mentor grew old and died teaching me the astral projection technique. I have expended all of my energy to occupy this mind. You must leave." "Tough titty," Portugal growled. "Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Now crawl away, alien sod, because I have important linguistic research to do." Sean Mulligan danced in circles, limbs flopping, as the two alien presences battled for control, then splashed down into a puddle. "I care not a pistil for your research," Monticle thundered. "Mine is a dying world beset by accelerated entropy. Our fuel is running out. Unless a cargo of U-235 is shipped out to us soonest, we go down the galactic plug-hole." "Goodbye," Portugal sneered unfeelingly. "No one has ever heard of your backward planet in any case, so no one will miss it." Sean's voice cracked with rage as Monticle snarled his answer. Then he gargled incoherently as both aliens struggled for verbal control. As this mental battle raged, Sean found that he could see dimly as through a heavy fog, and when he tried to walk, he began to stumble forward. In their urge to speak, the alien presences had abandoned control of his body. With shuffling feet, he turned in a circle. There would be no welcome at the arches today, and started towards Mulrooney's, walking slowly, talking to himself with high-pitched squeals and rattling gurgles, through the door and to the bar. "That's a wicked cough you have there," Mulrooney said, setting one before him. "It's that Martello Tower and all the dampness. Put in the central heating, that's what you must do." though I see difficulties in drilling through the granite walls, surely 20 feet thick." Sean raised the pint slowly, then half drained it, talking all the time quite splashily as the stout gurgled past his vocal cords. Mulrooney went off to serve another customer, as Monticle spoke in dark tones. "A compromise, then. Give me leave to speak. You would not wish the death of a planet upon your conscience, would you?" "I have no conscience. Most impractical at the great pressures under which we live." "Then I appeal to your intelligence and curiosity. Merely let me go to the national dictator or other qualified government official and make my arrangements for the U-235. This creature will undoubtedly speak the local language better than our host, so your studies will quicken." "What's in it for me?" Protocol asked, intrigued. "The gratitude of an entire world. With that, and a strutzel, I can buy a kutzel." "You've got to do better than that." "I have nothing else to offer." "What about your own language? Might be interesting. How would you say, 'breasts all perfume, yes, and his heart was going like mad, and yes, I said yes, I will, yes. N, asterisk, circumflex, dash, py, number, asterisk, 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 89. "Forget it. That's not a language. It's a throat disease." While they talked, Sean raised a shaky finger to Mulrooney, fumbled pound notes to the sticky bar, downed the fresh pint, and reached for an even fresher one. "You are so unjust," Monticle whimpered, "and selfish. Would you have an entire world die because of your neglect?" "Damn right," Protocol responded dimly. "Galaxies like grains of sands, stars like dust, or holes in a blanket. Couldn't care less." His voice trickled away, then returned with an effort. "I find it almost impossible to talk. What is happening?" "I'll tell you what is happening," Monticle answered, his fear forcing the words through the cloying blanket of incomprehension. "While we have been distracted, this host creature has been purchasing large amounts of biological poison. The deadly liquid has seeped into the synapses of his brain and is disconnecting them one by one. I am losing control. It will drive us out." "It will kill itself at the same time," Protocol squeaked. "We must stop it." They each took one arm and clamped the hands tight upon the bar. Sean stared glassily ahead as they battled for control. "So you've stopped talking to yourself at last," Mulrooney said, carefully polishing a glass. "Drunk yourself sober, you have. Would you like one for the road?" "I want," Monticle said deeply. "No more," squeaked Protocol. "Your voice changing? Not at your age. Must be your cold. Better get into bed before it turns into the flu." Legs spread wide, hands clamped to bar, Sean stood there, breathing like a locomotive. His alien occupiers would stop him from buying more drink, but could not stop the gallons of Guinness in his gut from seeping through into his blood. Drop by drop the ethyl alcohol oozed until his plasma could have been bottled and sold for gin. His eyes popped with the battle for control. A battle lost. There was a tiny scream vanishing into nothingness, accompanied by a small popping sound as Monticle's grip slipped, and his thought patterns vanished back among the stars. Protocol, the more experienced, fought on, but it was a losing battle, a defeat, an alcoholic Armageddon. As the synapses popped open, he slipped away, vanished cursing, back to his gunk-atmosphered home among the stars. "Ah," Sean said, letting go of the bar and rubbing his sore hands one against the other. Experience counted. The amount of alcohol he had consumed would have killed a teetotaler in 12 seconds, would have preserved intact an entire family of hooded rats in a glass jar for centuries. But years of alcoholic overkill had won. What matter that his liver looked as though an entire regiment of the Black Watch had marched over it with hobnailed boots? It was of little importance that millions of his brain cells had been dissolved into jelly, so that his IQ had dropped by 20 points. None of this mattered. What did count was that the aliens had been repulsed, and he had won. He drew himself up, and for the first time in hours spoke with his own voice, through vocal cords tired by the alien battle. "It's quite a thirst I have, a pint, if you please. Good man, you had me worried there for a while." "Had me worried as well, I assure you." He blinked away the alcoholic haze and glanced at the headline in the Mirror that lay on the bar top beside him. "Alien occupiers meet in Hawaii," he read aloud. "That's it, by Jesus. That's what happened to me. I've been occupied." "You've been drunk," Mulrooney said, putting the dark pint down. "I've been both, but no one will believe me." He sighed and drank. There were two of them. One nasty one, thick as two planks, wouldn't listen to the other's pleading that his whole planet would be destroyed. Laughed, he did. Nasty, pressurized little bugger. Sounds like a science fiction story to me. Why don't you write it down before you forget it? Sell it to someone. Not me. I'll leave the storytelling to the lads who don't drink. A sober, teetotaling, serious lot, those science fiction writers, I hear. Set them up again, Mulrooney, and one for yourself this time, for I'm beginning to disbelieve what happened myself. At this moment, as the pint filled full, far across the galaxy, a solid creature brooded unhappily at the bottom of a thickening sea, while still further away entropy ran out, and a dim star vanished with a tiny stellar scream